So I'm going to come in here and take out this comma after while. We never put a comma after while, but we do put a comma after this whole clause, okay? So there's the comma after boiling, and that's fine to go there. So good. We made a correction to a correction, which happens a lot, right? We think we're correcting it, and then maybe we're making a mistake. But that's okay. We're learning here. Anything else, Carolina, that you think we need to do to this paragraph?
In the last line, I don't know if it's okay to say senses. I think it's sense. Everyone sense.
Well, we can say senses because what we're talking about is the sense of smell, the sense of taste, our sense of sight. So it's multiple senses, and we need to make that plural. Yeah.
Teacher,
Yes.
in the fourth line, when it says like, well, the tomato sauce is boiling, can we add like, we didn't have any word to express our next step, and I put third, like going third while the tomato sauce is boiling, or not?
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. You made it a separate step. You can do that, but here's what I did in this process paragraph. Do you see the sentence above it that says next right here?
Oh, what? Is the same step?
Yeah,
it's
kind of considered because in this step we are working with making the tomato sauce itself. So we crush the tomatoes, cook them. While they're cooking, we add the garlic. So we're actually in the second step, we're creating the sauce of the tomato and adding everything. So that's why I did not put another transition before while. As long as this sentence after the step is still talking about the same thing that you're doing, right? You're cooking the tomatoes, and while it's boiling, while it's cooking, you add the garlic. So I just included that together. But yeah, I mean, you could, but I kind of I don't like to have sentence, sentence, sentence with transition, transition, transition. Next, do this, then do this, finally do this, then, it's kind of like choppy. So I like to give it some space between these transition words. Okay. So that's a good idea. I'm glad you asked that. Okay, so you guys did pretty good with this, but we missed, well, first let's count how many we have. We got the first one. We changed ways to steps. And because we did that, we had to change a few other things. Steps to take to create. If you guys remember on my PowerPoint from Tuesday, or was it last week? I don't remember. Yeah, I think it was last week. In the PowerPoint and slide number 11, I gave you 3 structures that you can use for topic sentences. And this is one of them. Okay, there are 3 easy steps to take to create a flavorful spaghetti sauce. So right there in my very first sentence, I am identifying my topic and my controlling idea. Okay, I don't ask a question like, how do you make sauce? I don't ask a question. I don't give some introduction like, my family and I love to sit around the table and eat sauce with our spaghetti. I don't do any of that. I'm getting straight to the point, and I make sure that I have some keywords in my topic sentence. This is going to be important for you guys when you're writing your process paragraph. Make sure your first sentence has keywords to show me that this is process, okay? This is not illustration. This is not classification. This is a process paragraph. So that's very important. I've got a good topic sentence now. Then I have my transition first. And then I'm using imperative form. And you can use imperative like get the ingredients. Okay. Another example down here, taste the sauce. That is imperative. Okay. I can also use simple present tense to describe things like the garlic adds flavor. Okay, that's simple present tense. I'm describing or I'm talking about the ingredients. Okay, I can also use should. Okay, so in this paragraph, I'm basically giving you guys the keys to making a good paragraph. If you can look in here, you can find a lot of things that can help you in your paragraph. Okay, so I have should because I'm giving instruction, I'm giving steps and advice what to do. Okay, so let's go back to the top. We found one mistake here. Okay, topic sentence error. Then we found these commas, and this is a series comma mistake. Okay, because I have 4 nouns that I'm listing, so I need these commas. That's 2 mistakes. Okay, then we found the singular plural reference mistake. Tomato. Why am I saying tomato when I already said up here 5 tomatoes? Okay, so if down here, if I only say tomato, that means only 1 tomato is going in the sauce. The other 4 tomatoes are going to stay on the counter. For what reason? I don't know. That's confusing, right? So I keep this one plural and then look at the reference with the object here, them. Them is plural because I'm using tomatoes, which is plural. So it's got to match correctly, okay? So that's the 3rd mistake you guys found. And then we have a subject-verb agreement error right here. Wait, did I say subject-verb agreement? I'm sorry. It's verb tense. It's tense because was is in the past, but I need to use is. Is the present. So I switched from past to present. If I'm switching the time, that's called a tense switch. I found a verb tense error. Okay. So that one is good. So now we have 4 mistakes that we found. Okay, this one right here. 2 people said we need commas. Okay, it's Sammy and Lucia. So Lucia, can you tell me why? Why did you put a comma after sauce?
Because we are using a fanboy next, that is and.
Okay, do we need to have a comma every time we use a fanboys? Is that a requirement?
Not really.
Yeah, not really. Remember, we've been talking about commas last week and this week, and again, we need lots of practice, right? Today we're going to do more practice. But remember I said, just because you have an and or but or so or yet, it does not mean you must put a comma before it. Okay? It depends on what the situation is in the sentence. So with our series comma up here, we need a comma because we're listing 4 things: tomatoes, leaves, olive oil, garlic. Okay, this is not a compound sentence, it's just a list. We call these series commas. Down here, let's look for subjects and verbs. Okay, you is the subject, taste is the verb. Okay, this is imperative form. Taste the sauce and add. So what I have is a verb, taste, and then I have another verb. Okay, so what we have is we've got a subject, which is you, but we don't write it, and two verbs. Do we need to separate the two verbs with a comma? What do you think?
No.
You're right, we do not. Because this is not a compound sentence, and we are not listing 3 or more verbs, so we don't need a comma.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so time you're putting commas, I want you to go back and say, why? What is my justification for using this? Okay. So in this case, we have subject with verb phrase and verb phrase. And then we started again with another if you need, which is it's not going to be independent like a compound sentence. So in this first part, we only have 2 verbs that we're listing. We do not have a compound sentence, so we're going to not put a comma there. Okay, and then down here, tangy is adjective, is describing the sauce. Okay, so fresh and tangy. This comma here, okay, why is this comma here? And somebody put a period. Why?
I put a period because I think it's a complete idea, so we don't need to put those sentences together because I think both of them are a complete idea. They have a complete thought. I don't know.
Okay, and that's true, they do. But what happens in a compound sentence? We have 2 complete ideas and we put them together with comma and fanboys.
No.
Yes, actually we do.
Yeah.
When we make a compound sentence, we've got subject verb, it's a complete idea. We've got subject verb, a complete idea, and we can put them together as long as we do it correctly. We can use comma with fanboys. That would make a compound sentence. Okay, so and today we're going to be looking at compound sentences again in chapter 26. So we'll go there in a few minutes. I'll show you more examples. But we've got subject, sauce, verb, should taste, and then we have some adjectives. So this is complete. Then we have another subject, it, and verb, goes. And this also is complete idea. And it's okay to join them together with a comma and a fanboys. If we only have a comma, that is called a comma splice error. That's a mistake. If we only have a comma, okay? We cannot just put a comma and no fanboys. So we put the correct combination to make this a good sentence. Okay, now you can put a period here, yes, but I don't like it when you start sentences with fanboys, like and, but, so it's not formal writing. So if you do want to use a period after tangy, then the next sentence should start with it. Okay, but you remember in my paragraph, I want to show my teacher that I know how to make a compound sentence. So I want to make sure I have at least 1, hopefully 2 compound sentences in each paragraph. Okay, so I'm going to leave this here so my teacher will smile and say, extra points, right? Okay, so the other one, following, we never put a comma after following. Okay, this is what we call a gerund phrase, and it's the subject. Following is a subject. Following what? The steps will help you. So you can ask yourself the question, what will help you create a sauce? The answer is following the simple steps. So we don't want to put a comma that's separating pieces of the subject. Okay, the subject, complete subject, is following these few simple steps. We don't want to put a comma to break up this complete subject here. Okay, so you guys see how much I talk about subjects and verbs, right? Every single day, because you have to train yourself to find them. Will help is the verb. Okay, what's the subject? Is it steps? It's not the steps, it's following, it's doing the steps. So following is the main subject. And we have this phrase that we created to make it like a complete subject. Okay, so don't need a comma in that sentence. Now, how many are left? 1, 2, 3, 4. We found 4. We got 3 more mistakes, guys. We have to get 100 on this paragraph. How are we going to do it? Any ideas what we need to do? Okay, well, time's up. I'm going to share the answer. Okay, take a look at the answers here. Now you can kind of zoom in if you want. Look at the yellow part. This is where I added the corrections that I needed. Okay, so we already talked about the topic sentence. You guys helped me with that. Nobody caught this mistake. And this is something I talked about in class, and I put the description of the errors at the bottom. Page 255 and 256, we talked about and we showed examples of how to use including with a comma. Remember when we talked about we talked about fragments and we talked about ways to correct them. And I mentioned the word including and other words like especially, for example, for instance, those kind of words. So this is, I wanted to test you to see if you were able to remember what I said about this. So look back at page 255 and 256 if you need help. And there are examples of this one in the practice that we did. Basically, what we have is we've got subject and verb, get the ingredients, comma, including, okay? Now, after including, I cannot have a subject and verb, okay? If I do that, it will be a comma splice error. So after including, I only have nouns, things. I've got tomatoes, leaves, olive oil, garlic, period. Okay, so that's how we use including. It's only to list some nouns or things. All right. Any questions so far?
No, teacher.
Okay. I know we're kind of going fast, but the good thing is I'm recording this if you need to come back and check what I'm talking about here. Okay, so we did the series commas around olive oil. Now the next sentence, Gerardo and Carolina, I think, in our last class, you guys found this error, but today nobody corrected it. So that kind of surprised me a little bit. So what was the problem here? The problem was there was only a comma. That's called a comma splice error. So when I go down here, it's a comma splice error. That's the 4th error. So I need to make this a complete sentence. I'm making it a compound sentence. How do I know if it's compound? Let's look at subjects and verbs. The garlic is a subject, adds is the verb, okay? Then I complete my thought. Then I have comma fanboys, and then another subject and verb. The basil adds. aroma. Aroma is like a smell, okay? So I've got two complete thoughts. And in the middle, I use a comma with fanboys. That is a compound sentence. Okay? If you keep the fanboys out, that is a major error. I count 7 points off for every comma splice error in your paragraph. This is considered a big error when it comes to writing run-ons, comma splices, and fragments. So we're really focusing in on that in this level, okay? So be careful where you're putting your commas and your fanboys. Make sure they're in the correct place. Any questions about that?
No, teacher.
Okay, so that was the fourth mistake. The fifth one we already found, it's the singular plural. Mistake number 6 we already found, the verb tense. And then this is the other one that nobody found yet, and that is verb form. If you look, this is the type of error. It's a verb form error. So what does that mean? What that means is I have the right tense. I'm trying to talk about the future. I'm using will, and I have a verb, but in the original paragraph, it had delighting with ing. And I cannot use will with an ing verb. That would be not correct. We're not forming it. We're not spelling it correctly. So I need to have a base form verb after will.
Okay.
And those are the 7 mistakes.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, so how do you feel about that? You feel a little more comfortable finding the errors, or are you still really confused? Tell me what's going on in your heads, guys.
I don't know. For me, it's a little. It's hard for me because every error is different
Right.
things. So and we have to do a lot of practice. For me, I have to get a lot of practice, but I think it's getting there. I don't know.
Well, I have seen improvements in all of your writing. I remember in the first journal assignment that we did, and I thought, okay, we've got a lot to work on this semester, and I've seen improvements in all of your writing. So you might feel like this is so hard. How can I do this? But it really is taking it little step at a time. Okay, you're not going to be perfect after a couple of months of writing. You know, it takes time, and you need to keep, like you said, you need to keep practicing. You need to look at good paragraphs. You need to look at bad paragraphs and then practice correcting them. And you also need to write your own paragraphs and learn how to correct your own mistakes. So there's 3 things you need to keep working on. Look at a good paragraph, look at a bad paragraph and correct it, and then do your own writing and correct it. Those are 3 things you have to keep doing in order to make your skills better and better. Okay, so does anybody else have comments or questions? Anything you need to share before we check our homework?
Not for me, teacher.
Me neither.
Okay. Then let's go on to page 340. Actually, it's 341. Practice 3. Practice 3, page 341. So we're looking at interrupting commas. When we have interrupting commas, do we just need 1 comma or do we need 2?
2 commas.
Carolina, do you agree? We need 1 comma or 2 commas?
2, teacher.
Yes, good. Gerardo's always ready to answer. He's got his microphone on. Everybody else is like quiet. Okay, so Carolina, why don't you start us with number 1? Wait, did we already do number 1? We did. We did number 1 in class. At practice number 1, and a comma after Parker. So Carolina, can you do number 2? What did you put for number 2 on page 341?
I put a comma after Warby Parker, after Parker.
Okay.
And there's a comma after company. So
yeah, they already have it there.
Yeah.
But you and I are thinking the same thing. Okay, so notice that I have the word Parker. I put a comma, then I push the space bar if I'm typing, and then I start the next word. Make sure you have the correct format with commas, okay? A couple of you still are putting a lot of spaces around commas. We only need a space after a comma when we're typing, okay? Okay, so that creates our interrupting phrase. And we're just giving a definition. We're giving more information about Warby Parker before we're continuing with the rest of the sentence. So if I take out the information that's in the commas, I still have a complete sentence. When Warby Parker is an example of how businesses can thrive, ... So that's the thing about interrupting phrases. You can always take them out, and then you should still have a complete sentence. You take out the information that's between the commas, okay? The words that are between the commas. Okay, Sammy, can you do number 3, please?
I think put a comma after eyeglasses.
Okay, and then where's the other comma?
After 2010.
No, we need to have, it's a good try, but we need to have a comma after company and a comma after 2010, both. We need to have both of those commas. Be careful what you're putting your commas between, because remember, if I put one comma and then a second comma, whatever's in the middle of that, I can take out. And I should still have a complete sentence, okay? So if I put a comma after 2010 and a comma after eyeglasses, then I'm taking out the verb of my sentence. I can't take that. I cannot make that into an interrupting phrase because that is an essential part of the sentence. So I want to break it down for you, Sammy, a little bit here. Do you notice company is a subject and makes is the verb? Did you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So the information in the middle, founded in 2010, that is just telling me more about the company. It's not essential to the meaning of the whole sentence, okay? So if I take out founded in 2010, I still have a complete sentence. I still have my subject company. I still have my verb makes. Okay, so that's what we need to do with these. Make sure we can still keep our subject and verb outside of the interrupting phrase. Number 4, we need a comma after B lab and a comma after company. Number 5, we need a comma after Parker, a comma after instance. Comma after Parker, comma after instance. Okay. Any questions so far?
No, teacher.
Okay, number 6, comma after companies, comma after fact. And number 7, comma after Etsy, and comma after companies. Okay, we got one more. Number 8, comma after workers, comma after people. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to practice 4 now. This one will be a little more challenging. Let's see if you guys were able to do this one. Lucia, can you help us with number 1? And the first 3 lines of practice 4, we have 2 mistakes.
Practice 4.
Practice 4, we have 2 mistakes in the first 3 lines. Did you find any commas that we needed?
I put a comma after people, many people, comma, have interesting, something, ionic jobs.
Okay, what's the subject of the sentence?
Many people have interesting. The subject is many people.
Okay, good. And what's the verb?
Have.
Okay, so what you did was you put a comma between the subject and the verb. And we can't do that. Remember what we said about separating subjects and verbs? Now, we can put I'll put this example. I'll just put this example up here, okay? Look at my example, Lucia. People, like my mom, have interesting lives. Now, I can put a comma after people here, but there's a reason why. The reason why is because I also have a comma after mom. So what that's doing, if you think of it like drawing a line like this. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm saying this is my interrupting phrase in between the commas. So if I want to, I can take this out and I still have my subject and I still have my verb. So it's okay.
Okay.
Okay to do that as long as you've got 2 commas. But if you only put, so let me erase this because I want to show you, yeah. So that's okay to do that one. But if you have a sentence like this, okay, and I'm shortening the sentence, but basically this is what you were saying. If I only have 1 comma, then I'm messing up the sentence. So now when I'm reading this, my brain is confused. I'm like, wait a second. I thought this was a subject and this is a verb. And I'm not supposed to separate those with 1 comma. So in that case, this one is wrong. We cannot do this.
Okay.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yes. It makes sense now.
Okay, good. So that's what we need to think about when we're doing interrupting commas, is where we are putting a comma before and after the interrupting phrase. So in number 1, we need a comma after fulfilling because I have 3 what? What am I listing? Who can tell me?
It's serious.
Yo.
It's what? See, yeah, it's a series comma, and what am I listing? Am I listing verbs or nouns?
So, we're listing. No, there are no verbs. I
Yeah,
don't
they're
know.
not verbs. Are we describing jobs?
Yeah, adjectives.
Yeah, we've got adjectives here. We're describing jobs. So I'm listing 3 adjectives. So I put commas. Interesting, comma, fulfilling, comma, and unique. Unique is an adjective too. Okay, and then I have my noun, jobs. So that one is an example of series commas. Okay, the next example, after cards, we need a comma because we are listing nouns. Cards, cards, and cards. We got 3 types of cards. So we've got a list again. We need to use a series comma there. Okay, is everybody with me?
Yes, teacher.
Good. Click on the raise your hand button if you have a question as we're going along, okay? So the next comma goes after emotions. And this one is introductory phrase, comma. Okay? And then we have another introductory phrase, comma. In fact, comma. And then we have a series comma again after comic strips. Okay, let's continue. Turn the page 342. When I call your name, I want you to tell me where the comma goes and what type of comma it is. Okay, so Gerardo, can you do the first one in number 2? Gerardo, microphone's off. Can you do number 2? Do the first comma for us.
I'm sorry, teacher. Yes. That one is difficult, but I think the comma is going after Angelica Pedersen.
Peterson, I guess. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
correct.
because
And
it's
why?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, because it's a interrupter word.
Yeah, we've got interrupting commas. There's one after taster as well. So we need to have one before a master coffee taster. So we put one after Peterson, and then the other one is after taster. So now we have a complete interrupting phrase. Okay, good. Alan, can you do the next one?
Yes, teacher. I put a comma after blue coffee.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's kind of tricky, but do you know what kind of comma that is?
I really don't know. Like they're describing the company, but not really. I don't know.
Okay, it's technically called interrupting phrase, but because it's at the end of the sentence, we don't need to put a comma after businesses or business. There's already a period there. So actually, I don't call these interrupting. I call this a tag comma. And it's when you just want to tag on like a little definition or a little word at the end of a sentence. So they didn't really share that example very thoroughly in this book, but it's called a tag. I'll put that up here. If you guys want to do more research, you can look up tag comma. Okay, the next one, we have a transition word, however, and then we need to put a comma after that. So what type of comma is that? Sammy, can you tell me?
Is
Yes, introducing phrase,
introducing.
word. Yeah. Okay, and Carolina, can you tell us the next comma that we need?
I put a comma after experienced professional.
Yes.
The interrupting.
Good. So after Peterson is a comma, and then after professional, and that makes the interrupting phrase. That's correct. And our last comma is after clearly, and that's an introductory word. Clearly. Okay, guys, that was pretty challenging there, that homework. Yes, Gerardo, go ahead.
Yes, teacher. Could you tell me where did you place the comma in sentence 2?
Sentence 2.
Well, in the number 2, in the
With the
second
coffee?
sentence, after coffee.
Yeah, after coffee, that's called a tag comma, and I wrote it up here on the board. Do you see this?
Oh, okay.
Tag is T-A-G, tag.
Okay, teacher. Thank you.
Okay, good, guys. Any questions about this before we talk about compound sentence commas?
No, teacher.
Okay, then let's kind of review our compound sentences, and then I have an activity for us to do together before we go. Here's what I want to do as kind of a special thing for us today. I want you guys to go to your paragraph. If you have your paragraph on paper or on your computer, I want you to look at your process paragraph, and I would like for you to pick out one compound sentence. Okay, if you don't have your paragraph written yet, that's okay. You can just make up your own sentence. And on the board in just a moment, I'm going to give you a space to write. So first, just look for a compound sentence that's inside your process paragraph. Okay, did everybody find one?
I think I don't have any commas.
Oh no. Well, this is my way to help you edit your paragraphs, right? Because that's one of the things we studied in class. So I do want you to have at least one good compound sentence in your paragraph. So maybe, Gerardo, you can take a look at it and see if there's something you can add, or maybe you can join two smaller sentences together to just see what you can do with that, okay? Or if you want to just make up a totally different compound sentence and you are going to write it on the board. Okay.
Okay. Could I ask you something, teacher?
Yeah, sure.
Can we put comma before because?
No.
No? Okay.
Nope. The only way we could do that is if we're listing 3 reasons. Like if I said, I came to the United States because I wanted a job, because I wanted an education, and because I wanted to learn English. If I'm using because da da da, because da da da, because da da da, then I can use comma. But 99% of the time, we're not going to use a comma before because.
Okay, teacher.
Okay, so I've got each of your names up here on the board, and I'm going to give you guys about 3 to 4 minutes. I want you to type your compound sentence here, and we are going to double check that they are correct for you. Okay, we're going to do this together. We've already talked a lot about compound sentences. Subject, verb, comma, fanboys, subject, verb. Okay, that's what the structure is, and we're looking for complete thoughts on both sides. So everybody gets a chance to write one sentence on the board, okay? So go ahead whenever you're ready. Okay, it's looking good. Gerardo, put your sentence up with number 1. So we say organized.
Oh.
And is everybody else writing? Oh, there's one. That's good. Okay, Alan, looking good. Yeah.
I forgot to hear it, teacher. Sorry.
Gerardo, I moved your sentence for you. Alan, what did you say?
that I forgot to put the final period.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No problem. Good. Okay, so Alan, your sentence is correct, perfectly correct. Well, I say that. I'm going to make a few changes. I'm going to switch these two words. You also. Oh, wow. Somebody got their type so small. Oh my gosh. Sammy, the words are so tiny.
And put my sentence and
I think it's because there's so many words.
yes.
Let me see if I can. I think I can make it bigger for you. Watch this. Ooh, look at that. I will be so happy to get back in the classroom, guys. Y'all do not know how much I want to get to that whiteboard with all my markers. There we go. Okay. So I'm just making a few corrections to these guys. I'm making sure that you understand and you can demonstrate how to show or how to make a good compound sentence. But so far it's looking good. Gerardo, this is the only part that you need correction to with yours. What you have here is you're making a passive sentence. And with passive, we have to use a past participle. So even though this is present tense, because we have is,
Okay.
yeah, made does not mean that it's in the past. It's just a word we need to show passive form. So
Passive.
that's what I'm talking about there. Okay, so far so good. Let's go ahead and get the rest of these up here because we have one more review editing activity to do. Oh, okay. Sammy, your sentence starts with when. And when we're starting with when, this first part is not a complete thought. But your sentence is still good. It's a correct sentence. But Sammy, yours is called a complex. Okay, so yours is, that's why you don't have fanboys. You don't need fanboys in this one. It's correct how it is, but it's just not a compound sentence. Okay, does that make sense, Sammy?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and Lucia, you've got a good compound sentence going here. Make sure that we always capitalize languages. I really need to improve my English, comma, but I need to study hard. The only thing I would change is I would change but to and. Because on the left side you have something that's like, oh, I really need to do this. And on the right side you have another thing that you really need to do. So you're just adding information. You're just adding two things that you need to do. So I would use an and to do that.
Instead of but, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
But other than that, it's a really good compound sentence. So good job.
Okay, thank you, teacher.
So far, everybody's done really well with these. Take a look at the corrections that I made to the other classmates' sentences. And Carolina, yours. Okay. You know what, Carolina? This one is tricky because we don't have subject listed, but it still is a complete thought. So in this case, what we need to do is take out this comma because the subject is kind of over at the front, like for chop. The subject is you. You're using the same form, imperative. And so let me write this. And so what you've got is like a subject you, and then you have two verbs, chop and boil. So what I would do is not have the comma because this is more of a simple sentence. It just has one subject and two verbs.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know that's kind of tricky because look at Alan's sentence. He has you on the left. He also has you on the right. Same subject. But he's got two different verbs. One is in the must and the other one is in simple present. So because he has like kind of different forms of verbs, he did this correctly. We need to put the comma in the fanboys. And then Lucia too, she's got the same subject, she's got simple present, but we use the comma in fanboys. So I think it's because in this case with the imperative form, we understand the subject to be you and we don't really like kind of repeat you again. That's really interesting. I never thought about that until now. So take out that comma. Okay, guys, anybody have questions about these?
No, teacher.
Okay, I'm going to give you homework for the compound sentences, practice 5 and 6. But before we look at one more thing, I want you to take a look at page 342. I want you to look in the gray box. And you see where it says comma and then no comma.
Yes.
Comma and no comma. So comma goes, if you notice, subject verb on both sides. Anna does, she sells. We've got the comma and. That makes compound sentence. But where it says no comma in the gray box, why? Because there's only two verbs that we're listing. Anna does, not two verbs. Yeah, oh yes, there are two verbs, sorry. Anna does and sells. She does the surveys and sells the products. So we've got Anna is a subject, and then we have two verbs, does and sells. In that case, there's no comma. That is a simple sentence. Okay, so that is just a basic idea of how to know if you need a comma or not before the fanboys. For subjects and verbs, look for a list if you're listing something or not. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to have two groups, and I'm going to give each group two sentences that you need to correct or tell me. You're going to tell me and tell the class if you need a comma or not, and then where you need the comma. Okay, so I'm going to put you in a group with your partners. I'm going to post on your screen, I'm going to give you 2 examples of sentences. And then you guys are going to work together and decide if we need a comma or not, and why. You have to be able to tell me why. Like, do we need it because it's series comma, or it's a compound sentence, or whatever. So you guys are going to have 5 or 6 minutes to decide together as a group, and then when we come back to the big group, you're going to share with the class and kind of teach the class a little bit, explain your sentence, and talk about the commas. Okay, does that make sense, everybody?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, good. So first I'll put you in the group, and then I'll come in and post your sentences. So each group has different sentences. So group 1 is going to be Carolina, Gerardo, and Lucia. And group 2 is going to be Alan and Sammy. All right, so I'll see you guys in a few minutes. And for you guys, your homework is to finish your process paragraph. Turn that in by Friday at midnight. And then do your lab assignment, and also do practice 5 and 6 on page 342 and 343. I'm going to post the answers to this practice activity that I'm doing right now in class. So I will post the answers in the lesson folder, so you guys can find that there. So see you later. Have a great rest of your day.